this is Samuel Lee, and I'm the drummer of Red Rain, and I'm having some fun on the All Over Place podcast where the funsanity never ends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. I'm your host, Eric Provoznik, and Jim Culver with as well. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, folks, we are recording today the day before Independence Day, and I'm not good. 4th of July, that's your 4th of July sales. It's Independence Day. And so we're also, this is our 52nd. It's our last episode of our second year. And Jim, thank you again for being along, folks. Thanks for watching and just continuing to grow as you like, share, subscribe. That we really appreciate all of that. And just as we get ready to head into year 3, just a reminder of why we did this, or why I decided after Radio Free Fredonia was dormant for so long. And unfortunately, it was the passing of our friend Kendra McGowan that kind of was the spark for the Phoenix to rise from the ashes. And not a show goes by where I don't think of Kendra. And so for our final episode of our year 2, we're here in July. Independence Day is less than 24 hours away. And just Kendra was the Patriot missile. And we miss you, Kendra. And this show, we're going to be talking about our Threefer this time. It's not music. It's not movies. We are celebrating our national park system. National parks and monuments is going to be the topic today. And in researching this, folks, I realized in coming up with a Threefer, I can't really. Jim, on the other hand, is going to be able to. I'm sure he has an honorable mention list a mile long. But with national parks and monuments, I haven't been to that many. But in terms of just this country is just so from sea to shining sea, as the song says it. But there's so much to do in this country. There's so much to go see, and you can in the background there we've got the Horseshoe Bend, which is part of the Grand Canyon, and just the tapestry that monument or park alone possesses is a tip of the iceberg. And Jim lives in a part of the country where there are tons of parks and monuments. And also you visit a bunch of places, Jim. So I'm going to start things off with you as we go for our Threefer of national parks and monuments.
Okay. So my number 3 is one that I visited fairly recently. This might be a little controversial pick.
We like controversy here.
Yeah, we do. It's not that much of a hot. So I did go to Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore is awesome. It's not my pick from that area though. My pick from that area is Crazy Horse Memorial. Ooh. Which is, in my opinion, as much as I loved Rushmore, I believe is superior. First of all, it's something like 10 times bigger. It's huge. You don't realize how big Crazy Horse Memorial is until you go there and see it. It is enormous. And it's unfinished, so you get to see a work in progress. And there's a lot more to do there when you visit. Rushmore basically is you just walk up and look at it, and which is not as big as you think, and then you go get an ice cream at the gift shop or something. Crazy Horse has a lot more stuff to do, a lot more stuff to see. You can spend all day there. And here's an interesting fact. It's been privately funded from the very beginning. It was actually a private project by a fellow who wanted it built. So he just went out and started doing it and started raising money, and it's never been paid for with a dollar of taxpayer money. And I don't think it's ever going to get completed in our lifetime, but it's absolutely incredible project. It's breathtaking and well worth the trip. But Crazy Horse is absolutely superior in my opinion.
I don't think it's controversial at all, and the fact that it has been self-funded, that is very cool as well. So, and just one of those places that I need to check off the list. And as I mentioned, folks, I have not seen a lot of these. However, I've lived in or amongst so many things, and especially being in Arizona for the last 7.5 years now. I still haven't been to the Grand Canyon. There's a trip I was supposed to make with some friends a few years ago that unfortunately got botched. So in terms of coming up with my 3-2, number 1 is that is the only place of all of our monuments and parks that I've actually been to and visited and gotten to experience the awesomeness of why it is a national park or a monument. But for right now, I'm just going to throw out there the one that I really want to get to the most, I think, is heading up to where you said, Jim, with Mount Rushmore and all that. I want to see the Badlands, something fierce.
Badlands are pretty great. Yeah, they're worth it.
And I'll finally get to check off of my list the upper Midwest, because that's one of the parts of the country I have yet to visit. So definitely want to get to the Badlands. Definitely want to get, experience Mount Rushmore. And as touristy as it is, there's a reason why that is what it is, with those four amazing Americans and carved into that mountain. So definitely want to go up there and it's just the beautiful landscape. America is big, and that encompasses it completely. So yeah. So my number 3 with an asterisk, of course, because I haven't been there, the Badlands. And Jim, now over to you for your number 2.
Yeah, and again, I have been there to the Badlands, and it's incredible. It's like being on another planet. It's really something. So probably up there with Death Valley as far as just the landscape and how alien it feels, and just a really unique experience. So yeah, definitely worth it. Okay, so my number 2 is the Lincoln Memorial, which I've been to DC. I've seen most of the stuff that people see there. For me, the Lincoln Memorial is my favorite part of DC. It's really incredible. I mean, it's simple in terms of what it is, but it's just huge. It's humbling. It's incredible. It just going there and seeing it is really awe-inspiring. Probably a close second would be the Vietnam Memorial. But yeah, Lincoln Memorial is incredible. I remain in awe of people that can take a piece of marble and carve something like that out of, and it's just really incredible stuff. And rightfully big and humbling as a statue of Abe should be, and very accessible. You don't have to buy tickets or anything. You can just walk right up there. I know a lot of people that live in DC will just go there with their morning coffee and hang out there, and I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's a really awe-inspiring site. So, and
actually, so we've stumbled across another one that I've actually been to. So yeah, like that whole aura, just being there at the Lincoln Memorial. And of course, you just look right across the mall there, and you've got the Washington Monument, and also, as you mentioned, the Vietnam Memorial in that same plaza. So yeah, it's just a lot of great monuments all within one. So yeah. Also, fun fact: there is a small memorial to MLK that is in one of the steps at the Lincoln Memorial, and it's very easy to miss, but it's there, and it just kind of commemorates when he gave his famous speech there. So it's something a lot of people miss because it's not obvious. There's no signs pointing to it or anything, but if you go to Lincoln Memorial and look around on the steps, you can see it. So very cool. And I was able to get it up there in time, folks. Trivia with Jim Culver. There it is. It's not just movie trivia. It's not just movie trivia. Excellent stuff there, Mr. Culver. Nice. So for my number 2 that I have not been to, but definitely want to see, and this is something that could happen pretty much whenever I want. But heading up a little bit north from where I am in Phoenix, heading into Camp Verde, is the Montezuma Castle. And if you're denoting a theme here with Mount Rushmore being carved into a mountain, just being at Sedona, that whole area, I've experienced the fringe of it, did a little bit of hiking on the fringes of Sedona, but just to go up and get the full experience, I've just heard too many good things about Sedona. And of course, nearby at Camp Verde is the Montezuma Castle. I just love that old kind of, that architecture, and it's right there into a mountain, and I've been told it's very cool, so I'm looking forward to experiencing that one, because I was obsessed as a kid with Coronado and Cortez and all the 7 cities of gold that they went exploring for with Coronado. So maybe get a little bit of Indiana Jones, young Indiana Jones chronicle for me.
Nice. So which reminds me, I've not been there, but that sounds like it should be on my list. And speaking of castles, I mentioned Death Valley earlier. There's actually a castle in Death Valley,
Really?
called Scotty's Castle. A rich fellow moved out there, and remember, you're not crazy if you're rich, you're just eccentric. And a rich fellow moved out there and built a castle there, and passed away. And then his wife lived there after him. But it's just kind of nestled off in the desert there, in the hills, and it's a pretty cool part of Death Valley that I think some people miss because they're just seeing all the geology. But if you get a chance to go out there, check out the castle because it's pretty cool stuff too.
Well, and we're going to get to that. And actually, I'll just make this one of my honorable mentions now because I again haven't been to a lot of monuments, at least not that I think, as we discovered with the Lincoln Memorial. I guess I have, but in the last few years, I've been fortunate. I took up a little bit of hiking, and some friends and we've done a couple of the highest peak and we did Humphreys Peak in Arizona. And then we also did, not too far from Death Valley. And I like this going from one extreme to the other. There's Death Valley, and then driving like less than, like not too far of a drive from Death Valley. You can go from the lowest point in America to the highest point in the lower 48 at Mount Whitney, which really should be, and maybe it is designated. I don't think it is. I could be wrong. But Mount Whitney is the highest point in America in the lower 48. And I've been to the top of that. And that is awesome. As you're seeing right now, as I share some pictures from it in the background. So beautiful. So it's again, haven't been to a lot of monuments or national parks, folks, but Mount Whitney, if ever a mountain could qualify, that would be it, because you're right on the divide between two major plates, and it's all right there. All comes to a peak right there at the top of Mount Whitney. And it's very, very cool. So there, nice. and as I look at a little bit more of a belly than I have when I did it, but a reminder that yes, I once climbed mountains very slowly.
You got me beat on that. All right.
But yeah, so Jim, we now go to you for your number one U.S. national park or monument.
Okay, so before I do my number one, I'm going to do some honorable mentions. I tried to winnow the list as much as I could, and preemptively apologies if I step on one of yours, but
probably won't.
Probably. Okay, so my honorable mentions: Statue of Liberty, and I have not been there. I've flown past it, so I've seen it, but I haven't been to it. So that's why I don't put it on my list. I feel like I need to see it for myself to decide if it's top tier, but definitely spectacular just seeing out of a plane. It's incredible to look at. Yeah. Glacier National Park. Really beautiful stuff. I'm not as partial to the snow as some people. That's why it's not on my list, but it is really a really beautiful place and worth the visit. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park in Hawaii is really incredible. It can be iffy whether the lava is flowing at the time, and if it is, you may not get to visit, and you may pass out in the air. So it's it can be iffy to visit, but it is really a beautiful place. And an underrated one that in this area is Olympic National Park. I've been to many times because I live here, but it's really incredible. It's got some of the most beautiful mountain ranges you'll ever seen. It's like going to the Alps here in America. It's got the only temperate rainforest in North America. It's got some beautiful waterfalls, hiking trails, lakes, you name it. I mean, you can just go there and spend as much time as you want hiking, and it's like going to a postcard everywhere you go. It's a really beautiful place. So you ever make it up to the Northwest, Olympic National Park's worth it.
I told you folks, he's spoiled up there in the Northwest.
We really are. That's how I put up with all the hipsters is the scenery makes it worth it up here. My number one is Yellowstone. It's not just a great show. It's a great place to visit. I went there last year. First time it had been a one for the bucket list for sure. And it's just incredible. It's really hard to describe, not just the beauty of it, but just the feel of it, how untamed everything is, how you can just be in touch with all of this nature that was, it's like being transported back 100 years, 150 years, buffalo roaming the plains, and just all these amazing sites, hot springs, and of course geysers, and just incredible stuff. We stayed at a cabin that had a pet bison that lived there. and would just kind of wander the grounds and tried to stay out of trouble, and you just kind of kept your distance, but you could take all the pictures of it you wanted. Just an incredible, unique experience. Also the first national park that was ever created, and basically created that system. And just the scope of it. I mean, you can easily spend a week or two just driving around from place to place and see something new every time. So
scratching the surface.
Yeah, it really is an incredible gem of this country. And if anybody visiting the U.S., I would say put that on or near the top of your list to see. So it can get a little crowded in the summer. It's not the most comfortable place to stay. There's not a lot of nice hotels there. It's mostly cabins and camping. But if you don't mind roughing it a little bit, it is absolutely worth it. So.
Well, you're an American. You better rough it, because people roughed it a heck of a lot more than that as they carved out this awesome country. So yeah, you can suck it up for a little while, folks. And by folks, I mean me, because I'm not the biggest camper in the world. So I'll make it happen. So, yes, I'll follow my story. But yeah, Yellowstone is definitely on my list. And just very quickly before I get to the only one of these that I remembered experiencing, and but places that I have been in or around, so that'd be Agua Fria in Arizona. Also, Arizona Sonoran Desert, as Jim alluded to earlier, and then I brought it. But Arizona, there really are just a lot of postcards, and the way the sun hits at the end of the night, Arizona sunsets are gorgeous. Also gorgeous, the San Gabriel Mountains, just outside of LA, and as you head up, and the one time I've done skiing in my life was there, and snow skiing, that is, and water skiing, a little bit more on that. But anyhow, I've driven through Joshua Tree several times back and forth going to LA and to Arizona. But yeah, that's just something about the desert, just calms you down, just something mystical about it at the same time. Everglades I've been through, Petrified Forest, another one on my drive out to when I moved out to California. And then Petrified Forest is great. The Everglades down in Florida, just a big old swamp, but damn it, it's impressive. And also the Casa Grande ruins out there as you head from Phoenix down to Tucson. Just some cool stuff there, and just Arizona again, barely scratching the surface. And if it doesn't qualify, if it's not a national monument or a national park, I think that Tombstone should qualify. But that'd be another list, I think. And also one that the top of the list I want to get to as a Civil War buff and just as a fan of this country and warts and all, the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Memorial, or just in Maryland is where that one is, and an amazing woman in our history and just a system. And actually, my grandmother almost bought a house up in Erie, PA, that had an underground railroad tunnel from one of the sheds in the backyard that ran down to Lake Erie to help transport people across to former slaves or escaped slaves across Lake Erie to Canada. So definitely want to go there and pay my respects to Harriet Tubman and her museum in national park, national landmark there in Maryland. So Ray and Fusi coming to visit you, and we're going to go see the Harriet Tubman thing while I'm there. So, but those are all my honorable mentions places. Oh, and Devil's Tower, just because I'm not the biggest fan of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It hasn't aged well. If you don't see it on a panoramic big ass screen, 70 millimeter, I'm not a big fan. But Devil's Tower, definitely want to see that. Oh, I have been to a lot of caverns in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania has no national parks. Very disappointed with that. But I have been to Independence Hall. That deserves some kind of special landmark, and maybe it has, maybe it is. I don't know. Didn't pop up on any of my list, but Independence Hall, birthplace of America, definitely deserves it, especially as we're around the corner from Independence Day as we record. But I want to go to the Carlsbad Caverns. Definitely need to check that out. And again, just so much to do in this country. I barely scratched the surface. But Jim, you did step on my number one, and that's okay, because Statue of Liberty is just everything that you would expect in a national park or a national monument, and a gift from France, who made this country possible to happen, helping us in our war for independence. people coming to this country, especially the big immigrants and refugees, all coming and just landing there at Ellis Island and coming into this country to start a new life. And that's what America is about. That's how we were founded, fleeing whatever country it was in Europe, or maybe coming over earlier if you believe in and I do believe in the Leif Erikson theory about coming over and visiting a couple hundred years before, more than a couple hundred years, but just landing up there into what was Canada, North America, and maybe dipping down into the U.S. Or what became the U.S. But just Statue of Liberty, it's there, that beacon of hope for a new life, and just coming to be in America, the land of opportunity, and just a reminder just how awesome this country is.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list. I've never actually been to New York outside of the airport, so I've never really gotten to explore the city. One of these days, it's definitely on my bucket list. So I will definitely get a chance to see it. So I'll keep your recommendation in mind for sure.
And I almost forgot. Also up in your neck of the woods, I definitely want to do it. Maybe I'll climb Mount Rainier at some point. That's not the highest point in Washington, though, is it?
I don't believe so.
I think just to climb it, though, just because Mount Rainier, it's just so awe-inspiring from just to look at in the distance, and Mount St. Helens as well, just from it's a volcano. I've never seen a volcano before.
Yeah, I mean St. Helens, the actual monument isn't all that breathtaking. It's just go out and look at a mountain, but there's a lot of cool history there. But yeah, Rainier is great. This year, for the first time, you cannot go there without a reservation. That's how many people are going to Rainier these days. So all the damn Californians coming in. But
yeah, you got to get reservations for pretty much any mountain that we want to climb out here. Again, Arizona is the same thing. People just coming in from all over the place to want to either go to Grand Canyon or just the many various places to camp and hike. So yeah.
Right. For the record, I'm an ex-Californian, so I'm allowed to curse the Californians.
You've been there long enough.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, Rainier is pretty breathtaking. You can see it from where I live on the coast on a clear day, but it's definitely worth visiting if you get the chance. There's just even Central Washington. There's so much to see and do there as far as natural beauty and mountain climbing, and just it's a pretty incredible area. So.
Once again, folks, barely scratching the surface in this country. I'll get to Europe at some point. I know I will, but there's still so much of this country I have yet to experience. So I'm looking forward to it with all of our there's a national park, a national monument, whatever it is. It's America, and I got to be able to take in everything here, at least at some point. And Upper Midwest and Pacific Northwest are next on the list. And for our +1, folks, we were going to talk about, as Jim and I did our research with what we wanted to narrow it down to with our favorite parks and monuments, we're going to go with the +1 of why is that? But I don't know about you, Jim, but I like all the positivity that we've given off here with the with our Threefer. So I think if it's okay with you, I'm willing to let's keep it positive, and as we celebrate America. And +1, our counter programming, I say we just kick that to the curb this time. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. I can dig that.
And then we can save our +1s for another list, and maybe expand it into a Threefer itself.
Indeed. Okay, that's fair. Well, I'm going to call my +1 the Statue of Liberty then, because that's one that I've always wanted to see and never gotten the chance to. So, keeping in the positive mode, I'm going to go there.
There you go. I like it. So, and folks, once again, thank you for listening. And I want to remind everyone that you can get here comes the shameless plugs, folks. You can get your all over the place merch over at Roundin' Third Productions at our Launch Cart store. So, for those of you listening on the audio platforms, that's ROUNDIN-THIRD-productions.launchcart.store/shop. And as Jim, again, thank you for being along for the ride from day one on this thing. And we're heading into year 3. I'm excited. We're continuing to grow. Thank you, everyone, for listening to All Over the Place. And Kendra McGowan, we miss you, buddy. And thank you for being that awesome Patriot missile. And God bless America, folks.
Amen to that.
fun sanity never ends.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to mention that we have a Russian listener now.